So, so yeah, we've been looking at the VLANs and we've seen Inter VLAN routing. So for Inter VLAN routing, we saw a situation where you had a router with one interface and we had maybe multiple VLANs, and we're saying that this becomes a sub interface.
Mm.
And we said that's also called router on a stick.
Yeah.
And we also saw the first one that we saw was if you have two VLANs, we need two links to be able to accommodate those two VLANs. And we're saying that this was the first scenario, the legacy approach, and then we had to go for one that's reducing the number of ports that's assigned. But the challenge was the fact that if we're going by this one, we reduce the bandwidth, so there should be a better option. So the better option is to use what we call an SVI. So switch virtual interface. So with switch virtual interface, we're saying that rather than having a separate device as a switch and a separate device as a router, we could get a switch which is a router at the same time. So we call that multi-layered switch. And once we get that, we create our VLANs, assuming we want to create VLAN 10 and VLAN 20. We create a VLAN 10, and then we create VLAN 20.
Mm.
Now, once we create a VLAN 10 and VLAN 20, we assign the ports into VLAN 10 and VLAN 20. For our default gateway, we just have to go and say interface VLAN 10. So we're using the name, the VLAN ID as an interface to assign IP address there to make it look like a default gateway. Does it make sense?
Yeah.
So we don't use a physical interface. We use what we call the virtual interface, switch virtual interface. So when we create VLAN 10, so for VLAN 10, its default gateway will be interface VLAN 10. Does it make sense?
Mm.
And if we create VLAN 20, its default gateway will be interface VLAN 20. Does it make
20.
sense? And then
Yeah.
we put the IP address there. And that's the essence of inter VLAN routing. Does it
Okay.
make sense? That's the essence of
Yeah.
the switch virtual interface. So the VLAN is going to be used like a normal interface. But first of all, in order for you to do that, you need to be using a multi-layer switch. And two, the VLAN should have been created already in the past. So for
Okay.
this lab, we're going to do this lab now. So I'm going to choose a switch. So we go here and then let's see here. Oh, sorry, did I say switch? So these
Yeah.
ones,
Okay.
these two.
Okay, I
And
have them. Mm.
yeah, and then I'll use two PCs. Each of them, one for VLAN 10 and the other one for VLAN 20.
20.
So let's see VLAN 10. And then this PC, okay, so this VLAN is VLAN 10. And this PC will have maybe 192.168.1.1.
Mm.
And the default gateway will be let's say default gateway 192.168.1.100.
100.
This is 192.168.2.1. The default gateway is 192.168.2.100. Is that okay? Now, following from the lab, we know that we have to create two VLANs here, and then we assign the port to that VLAN. And once we do that, we use this as a default gateway, and then boom, that's it. Is that okay?
Yeah, it's
So let's go here. This is 0/1. So config,
config T.
and then we go interface. Well, let's create our VLAN first. So VLAN 10 and VLAN 20. And now let's go into interface F0/1. Switch port mode
Access.
access, yeah. And switch port access VLAN.
10.
Amazing. And then we go to the other interface and say interface
F0/2.
F0/2. And we say switch port mode access
Access.
and switch port access
Yes.
VLAN.
20.
Amazing. Now let's put the IP address on this one. 192.168.1.1. And we're saying this will be 192.168.1.100. 192.168.2.1. 192.168.2.100. Let's try and see whether we can ping this guy. It's not supposed to be able to ping, right? We cannot ping. No, so let's say ping 192.168.1. We cannot. Oh, I didn't type it out. Say ping. It cannot ping, no? Because there's no routing. Okay. It cannot ping. There's no routing, yeah?
Yeah.
All right. So what we have to do is we go on this device. And then we say interface VLAN 10. So we're creating a default gateway. So can you see that it's saying interface VLAN 10 is up now?
Okay.
Now we're going to do IP address 192.168.1.100.255.255.255.0. You don't have to do no shutdown, but let's just do it. Because by default, once you switch on a virtual interface, it's not there. So once you create it, it's switched off.
Okay.
So VLAN interface
20.
VLAN 20. Yeah, and then we say IP address
192.168.
Yeah, the 168.
68.
Those 2.100. 255.255.255.0. Yeah. Again, we don't have to do no shutdown. That's fine. Now, do you think we can ping?
Yeah, I think we should go to ping now.
Okay, this is one lesson that we'll learn the hard way. You cannot ping because this is a switch. Even though we're saying it's a multi-layer switch. If it's a multi-layer switch, what it means is that it can behave like a switch and a router at the same time, yeah? But you have to enable the routing capability. Otherwise, it's like it's not being used. Why do you have to turn that routing thing on, that feature on? Is that okay?
Okay, I get it now.
Yeah, so you have to do IP routing. So here, you have to say IP routing. Yeah.
Okay.
So once we do IP routing, we're telling the switch that we want you to behave like a router. Is that okay?
Okay.
So basically, you're enabling the routing capability on the switch. Is that clear?
Yeah.
All right. So now, can we ping or not?
Yeah, we can ping now.
Okay.
Okay.
So we can ping.
You can ping.
So do you get what the issue is?
Yes.
If you don't have the first, you have to, if you're using a multi-layer switch, you have to create an SVI, switch virtual interface, to make the VLAN behave like an interface. and then you enable routing to be able to pass information from one VLAN to the other. Does it make sense?
Yeah.
Any question up to this point?
So the enabling the routing, it can be on any side of the interface, either interface.
No. You don't
Oh.
enable it on an interface. Watch here. We don't enable it on an interface. It's the global mode.
Okay.
It's just saying that I want to make this switch a router.
Router, okay, I see.
And the good thing about multi-layer switches, you know the interfaces, yeah? We can also turn it into a router interface.
Okay.
Because by default, it's a switch interface, yeah? So if you want to change it to a router interface and put IP address on the interface, you have to do no switch port. If you say no switch port, it becomes a normal interface.
Okay.
A normal router interface. Can you see
Yeah.
on the screen, you have VLAN 10, VLAN 20 down there as interfaces and they have IP address. Can you see that?
Yeah, I can see.
Okay, so that's how it's done. This is a multi-layer switch. Any question up to this point?
No, this one is clear. I'm just to try my hand on the lab.
Okay, you have to.
Yeah.
Just a quick one. Do you want me to add it to this video or you want me to?
Yeah, you can add it to this video.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think it's this one. Add it to it.
All right, it's fine. It's just going to be quick anyway, so it's fine. I don't know why this keeps doing this. Sometimes this thing acts up. I don't know why. Yeah. Okay. I don't know why. I'll open a new one.
Okay.
Okay, so here. Still doing that.
It's playing up.
Okay, let's see. All right. Maybe I should use the board. Okay. So we're saying that switches have ports, yeah? Now, what we mean is that we should be able to connect the PC to it, and that PC should start working. Yeah.
Yeah.
But we don't know who is connecting what PC to it. And for security reasons, we don't want anybody to just be able to connect stuff to it. So we want to put some kind of security here. Yeah. So that if we say, for example, at the beginning, we put our machines there, it records the MAC address of it. So maybe this F01, F02, F03. Yeah, so what we're saying is, once we connect the cables, and then we do some small pinging and all that, it records the information in a table. So maybe F01 has a MAC address of AAA, yeah? And maybe F02 has BBB. It records to someone. We're saying that assuming somebody disconnects this cable and connects another PC, maybe DDD, we don't want to allow it. So we want to put a security on the spot, yeah?
Yeah.
And that's the essence of port security. Port security is saying that if somebody connects a strange device that we don't know about, we block this port so that it may not have an effect on our network. Yeah. So basically, by default, we can statically, so technically, you can, if we set the security on this port, it means that it only accepts one device by default.
Mm.
It will record only one device for the port. We can increase the limit. Maybe we want to have at least 2 devices. So if we connect one, we connect another one, it records the 2. Yeah, does it make sense?
Mm.
But what we're saying is, in order for us to record it, there are 2 ways of doing it. First of all, you could do it manually or statically by saying that, okay, so for this port, I want to always have AAA on that port. Or you want the switch to decide based on who connects first.
Mm.
Do you get the idea?
Yeah.
So it's either you go to the switch, tell the switch, okay, for this port, it's only for AAA. Or you decide to say, okay, switch F0/1, decide, but I want you to only make use of this port for only one device.
Mm.
Does it make sense?
Yeah.
So if you're allowing the device to do that thing for itself, then it means that whoever comes first is able to use it. Is that okay?
Yeah.
And that's switch port security. There's more to it, but again, I just want you to get a fair idea of what port security is.
Okay.
And when we come in the next time, it's just going to be fast. I don't want us to spend so much time on port security.
Okay.
It will be only one session.
Okay.
And we'll finish with port security, and then we'll move on to